Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's good to be back. I've been away for a little bit, but I have another story, actually a lot of stories. I started outlining my next mission trip, which was the first mission trip to Brazil, and I realized that one thing goes back upon another. So I will probably do a bonus video tomorrow upload to share my call to my current job because that plays into this story, which is the story of how we came to even go to Brazil in 2007. We had actually been very excited to go to Sierra Leone to a orphanage that our church had partnered with several other churches to actually uphold and sustain, which is another video that I can share about how the churches were called to start this orphanage, which was a very miraculous, powerful moment of sanctuary as well. So today, though, I want to share the story of how we were pursuing this goal to go to this partnership or orphanage. And I had been receiving a little prompting by my church that we had gone to Peru, and that was not through our church, through the Methodist Church. And I have nothing against going through the Methodist Church. I have nothing against going anywhere that we feel prompted to go. So I said, okay, I will explore that. We're particularly interested in going to Sierra Leone. But when that was not possible, that year, there was a huge initiative towards Brazil to the Shade and Fresh Water Project in our conference, which is the Virginia Conference. So I asked the ambassador for the United Methodist Church if we could come down, and they were thrilled to have us and set up a organization mission trip for us in Sao Paulo. And we set up a couple free days in Rio, and we went down and we had a fantastic trip that had a lot of long-lasting fruit from it that I will share in another video. But this process of getting us there was very interesting, and we ended up down there and we were driving around, and the first thing that happened that we learned was that we had shipped all of our things in boxes through a gentleman who went with us with his company, and he had business down there, so he shipped all our things for us through his business. And then the government got a little savvy that we were shipping something that was outside of that business, and they basically held our stuff at customs, and they pretty much wanted a bribe to get it through. And we kind of negotiated, even gave them a little money for some fees, but they didn't release all of our things, which was predominantly our Vacation Bible School supplies. And so we couldn't really do all the things that we had designed and planned on doing. And we were immediately at the mercy and humbleness of the hosts that we had gone down to serve. And now they were serving us, trying to help us gather up new things, come up with a plan B or C or even D, and try to do the things that we felt like we were called to do. And as we're driving around the city, I'm looking at all the Brazil flags, and there was one in particular that was flying in front of something that said Brazil on the building behind it, and the thought struck me, hey, isn't it cool? I'm in Brazil. I don't know if anybody else is crazy enough to think these things, but this is the kind of stuff that goes through my head. And all of a sudden, I had a moment of sanctuary. I felt the very holy presence of the Creator say to me, it is done. And all of a sudden, I remembered when I was 14, and at this point, I'm about 36. So another 22 years later, I remember something that happened when I was 14, when I was on that trip to Mexico, and I can link that video below. And I was being aware of this power of something greater than us, this presence of something sacred and something bigger. And all of a sudden, I remembered a prayer. I had met another fellow student on that trip in Mexico who had grown up a missionary son to missionaries in Brazil. And he had shared great stories of growing up in Brazil and all these wonderful things that his parents had done. And he had very positive memories and associations with the country. And he was now thrilled to be in Mexico, also sharing and getting to know everybody and doing all the things that we got to do. And Ryan was his name, and we had a really great time together just discussing this. And I remember that evening that I was done hearing his stories, that I got down and I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, if it is all your will, may I please go to Brazil and do a mission trip there. May I please go and serve and see some of these things that I have heard about. I would so appreciate that if that could be possible. And I prayed that and forgot it. I totally, completely forgot it. Life went on. It was not in my mind at all. When the country Brazil came up through my church, I did not remember it. It was only in Brazil, while there, while serving, that the Lord reminded me, Kristen, I have answered that prayer. Even though you don't even remember praying that prayer, I have answered. And this awesome wonder that sometimes I wrestle with, why doesn't God answer prayer? Why do bad things happen? Why do things that we pray against that seem to us so worthy that the Lord doesn't answer? And maybe sometimes the world is just too broken, and there's something beyond. And maybe there's a mystery that the Lord does answer, just not yet, or not the way we expect. And so I hold out hope always that maybe my understanding in that moment is just missing, is just absent, but that the Lord has shown himself to be faithful, that this Spirit of our Creator loves us and knows the desires of our heart and has the plan for us, that we have been fearfully and wonderfully made for a purpose, and that we can be patient and faithful, that we can live into that to experience these moments of pure sanctuary, that we can just have these encounters. And may you on this day remember that you have been fearfully and wonderfully made, and lean into finding those experiences and moments of sanctuary for yourself. Blessings on your day.